You're listening to Expertly Said, a podcast on the art and impact of communication. I'm Kristen Sweeney, founder and CEO of Every Little Word. My guest today is Mary Lou Andre, founder and CEO at Dressing Well. Mary Lou assists leaders in leveraging style as a tool of communication and confidence. She's the creator of the Dressing Well method and is an accomplished entrepreneur, speaker, author, stylist, coach, mastermind facilitator, and nonprofit leader. Mary Lou has worked with a wide range of leaders, including corporate CEOs, governors, media personalities, and some of the most talented up-and-coming professionals you'll ever meet. With that work has come the benefit of 3 decades of studying and absorbing how successful people lead and lead their lives. Mary Lou, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Kristen. Great to be here.
I'm really excited about this conversation. The goal of Expertly Said is to talk about the art and impact of communication. And so, of course, many of our guests are traditional communicators. We've got marketing leaders, comms folks. But it's always important to me to expand the horizons of what it means to communicate, because although I am a words person by trade, there are, of course, many avenues through which we communicate with one another. And so really thrilled to have you here to kind of talk about a unique aspect of communication.
Okay, I'm ready.
Awesome. Love to kick off with, I always want to get into a little bit of somebody's origin story, how you got to where you are today. And you have a particularly kind of fascinating and interesting story. The founding of your company really does all sort of begin with fashion. So can you share some of that backstory with us?
Sure. I was that child that would have picked a trip to Filene's Basement. Those of you from the Northeast probably remember Filene's Basement. It was this huge. I'm from the Boston area. Huge shopping mecca in downtown Boston. I would have picked that over a trip to Disney World anytime. So I was always very much drawn to texture and fabric and color. I did get a real degree when I went to college. I was not from an entrepreneurial family. I went to the University of Massachusetts, and I went into their fashion marketing program, but I was actually a bit disillusioned, Kristen. It was very retail oriented. Most of the folks that were in that program were really going towards buying programs or to become buyers, work for retail. And me being me, I too am a student of the spoken and written word. I ended up getting a double major in journalism and fashion marketing. So I quickly put together kind of my own practice. But having said that, when I started my company, I didn't have this big entrepreneurial base. What I had was Yankee ingenuity, and you weren't going to stop me. So my first job out of school was actually in public relations and marketing, where it was my job to get folks in front of the camera on TV. And I worked for an amazing woman who was the company spokesperson of where I worked. And I worked at the old Jordan Marsh here in Boston. It's no longer. And she was just this dynamic personality, dream client in terms of knowledge and deep thought leadership, even back then, on all things retail. And because I always went into any environment and I'm a connector. I made friends with people at the makeup counter. I knew where all the clothes were. So I said to her, she had a big opportunity to be on a major show at the time here. And I said, do you mind if I dress you and get your makeup done? And she was just amazing. And she was like, no. And she was wearing at the time black and beige, and it was a holiday show. And I put her in a red suit. I had her hair and makeup done. And she sat down with me the next day. And I was really young in my career. I mean, I was really a lower level assistant type in the PR department. And she said, I never felt better in my life. And yeah. And so I ended up reporting directly to her. She was one of my first mentors. Mentorship is something that has always been really important to me. And when that company went under, it was sold. The last day of work was March 31st, and I ended up in her closet on April 1st, and that's where the company was born. And she just said, come and show me what you do, because the same principles that I do today, Kristen, are what I did back then. And we have a Dressing Well methodology now, but it really does start in the closet. And she really referred the first clients to me. But then, of course, you've got that stake in the ground. Like, I'm really going to make this work. So I went into my closet. This is a true story. And I was newly married. My husband was not too sure, me going out on my own was a great idea. And the most expensive thing that I had ever bought on my own was my wedding dress. And I decided to sell it. And
Wow.
that's what paid for the business cards. That's what paid for a used computer. And at the time, again, I got very good coaching, very good mentoring. And my dad was one of my biggest mentors. And he said, and I remember going to him and saying, okay, now I need a degree in this, this, this. And he's like, no more fashion for you. I'm like, I need to go to the School of Fashion Design in Boston. No more. He goes, you need to learn to be a business person. And he said, you want to plant your seeds where you want them to grow. And it was a $200 membership to join New England Women Business Owners. One of the best decisions I ever met. So I took the money from the sale of that dress, joined that organization, which back then, we're going 30 years ago, Kristen, $200 was a lot for me.
Sure.
And what I did was I showed up. And that's another big piece of our coaching with our clients. One of my brand promises to this day, I went to every meeting. And then the next thing I did, because I was very young, it was very scary. I had a PR background, so I volunteered my talents to, there was the biggest event for this organization was Woman of the Year, Businesswoman of the Year. And I joined that committee. I used my talent. And at the time I had a lot of time, Kristen. I didn't have many clients. And I was able to, interview, this is, before the days of the internet or Zoom. I got myself in the office of these, 10 powerhouses, to interview them for the press release. And 5 of them became private clients because of the relationships that I built. So my origin story really is, and I didn't know how aligned it would be in my business philosophy at the time. I literally needed cash. And I was like, I think I read an article. I've always been somebody that's a researcher. I read an article on consignment stores, didn't even know it was a thing back then. And there was one that specialized in wedding dresses. And I had bought that dress myself. My parents paid for my wedding, but that was something that I had purchased. So it was amazing that I could do that. And now, all these years later, part of our guiding business philosophy with clients is to release things that no longer serve you to make room for a new thing. And that's so true in so many areas of life, but it really, today I just smile because that dress was taking up so much room. I was able to leverage it. I still have the husband, by the way.
Awesome. Awesome.
He was there. He continues to be one of my biggest supporters, but that decision led to some pretty amazing opportunities for me.
Yeah, what a statement of affirmation in yourself and your abilities, and
Mhm,
just
mhm.
confidence to take something so, I'm sure tied with a lot of emotion,
Yep,
and
yep.
say I'm willing to move on from this and to use this to get to the next place I want to go.
Mhm,
That's really fantastic. And so we kind of started to get there. That was the sort of the beginnings of you founding your company. Tell us
mhm.
a little bit more about the work that you do today and who you work with.
Sure. Yeah. So the company has certainly evolved. It did start with just me going in and out of men. We do work with men as well, men and women's homes, and helping them really understand our niche is definitely 80% of our business is professional men and women.
Okay.
So it was really about helping them understand the power of communication. I know your show is all about communication, how wardrobe and grooming and etiquette and how you show up is all tied to communication, energy, confidence. So we have always stuck to our knitting. And that has definitely carried through. I've gone through in 30 years many reinventions over the years, Kristen. But pretty early on, I got into corporate speaking and consulting. So it went from working one-on-one with some really impressive leaders to, could you come in and do workshops for our team? And that was really scary when I first started doing that. And another entrepreneurial story is I needed coaching on that. So I did a trade. I had met a woman that knew how to do that very, very well. The framework that she helped me develop is still the framework we use today. So that's another takeaway for your viewers is when you go, you can really get out of overwhelm very quickly by framing steps. And then I took a public speaking course as well. I did another trade for that, somebody that really helped me take the framework and make it teachable. So that was like a really big pivot. The next one was when I had the opportunity to write my book. So another great story, it was at a time when I was getting really busy. I'd already hired one stylist. I had a office person helping me. So there was a team of three. I always had a bookkeeper because that was never my thing. It's another
Yeah.
tip is like delegate what you don't do well. I've never ever operated my business without at the beginning a part-time bookkeeper. The woman that's been with me now is Lori's been with me 15 years. And so
Wow.
developing a team is huge. But it was at the time when the book deal came about, I had really, and I've always used coaches. I really believe I'm a coach and I'm better with my business when I'm also being coached. But I was working with a coach at the time and she said, you really need to scale back on one-on-one consulting because it's not going to get you where you want to go. So I spoke at a conference in New York, actually, and a woman in the audience came up to me and she said, I really want to hire you. And I said, well, I'm really not doing that work anymore, but and then she just wouldn't let go. And she said, what if I come to Boston? I said, sure. So she she brought her entire closet to my office. I did have a real office at the time. I work out of my home these days. And in a matter of 2 hours, back to Filene's basement again, Kristen, I met with her, assessed the wardrobe, took her shopping. And in a couple hours, she had 5 pieces that made everything work better. And she
Wow.
said, you really have something here. You need to write a book. And I was like, cringe, journalism degree. I tried to write a book on my own, failed, rejection from all the major publishing houses. And she said, my sister's an agent. And she said, I'm going to connect you. And the rest is history. I was able to, it was just timing. The book came out in 2004. It put us on the map. Because once you become an author, there's just so many other corporations, organizations that it just gives you the credibility factor. So I had a ton of fun with that. We also do a lot of nonprofit work here. And another thing I'm really proud of, when the company celebrated 20 years in business, we started a foundation, the Dressing Well Charity Foundation, because I really believe that fashion and fundraising go hand in hand, and leaning back into my nonprofit. Once I left that retail store and launched my business, wasn't going too well. And my husband was like, you got to get another job. So I ended up doing some part-time
Mhm.
work in nonprofit PR. And I just learned so much from that I was able to lock arms with some pretty significant charities in my area, which is Boston. And just use the book, the nonprofit. The nonprofit it was a lot of work when I was doing the fashion shows. And then that became like I couldn't do that anymore. It was just taking way too much time out of the business. What people don't realize when you own your own business, it's not like I had Fidelity or IBM paying me to organize the fashion show. It was time away from the company. So another really great advisor was like, why don't we start a foundation for you and tap into your clients um, to support that, which is exactly what happened. And we're able to now give our time, our talent, and our treasure. And part of the work we do, Kristen, in people's homes is repurposing clothes. That's another big part
Mm.
of our brand promise. And when we're able to take those clothes, we have partnerships with places that do that for our clients. And then to layer on, well, let's raise money for Dress for Success. Let's raise money for these other places. It's really powerful when you're working with the types of clients that we work with, and you can align them with your mission. You can bring them along and make them feel really great. And of course, as you know very well in your line of work, it just starts opening more doors. So the book was big. The nonprofit work has always been big, but really formalizing one of our pillars, which is anybody can be well dressed with a little organization and a few simple fashion principles, to be able to do that with a CEO and then also do it with somebody that's in the Dress for Success program and do it with the same level of dignity, communication, connection is probably something that I'm most proud of.
It sounds so rewarding in the way that you've been able to uh strategically, but also sincerely kind of expand and grow into all these different places. But everything really it seems so connected by that same mission and through line. That's wonderful to hear. And when you're talking about the Dress for Success program, it's interesting. I have young kids now, and so we are constantly right reviewing their
Yeah.
clothing because they're outgrowing it and ready to move on. And I will say it's a lot more even just mentally like rewarding to be able to take the things that are still in great condition after going through two girls and have somewhere to donate them and know that they're going to be put to use rather than just feeling like they're just all sort of going to waste. So I'm sure I can imagine that there's like a virtuous cycle there where it allows your clients to also kind of move on more easily from things, knowing that they're going to have another life elsewhere. I'd love to get into going back to your clients. Tell us a little bit more about what are the challenges they are facing, right? When it comes to
That's
wardrobe, styling, dressing well, what kind of problems do they come to you with?
time. Time is a big one. Having
Always.
Yeah, time, having a closet full of clothes, nothing to wear, um, not thinking they're good at it. And I bust that myth right off the bat. This is a science, and anybody can learn it. Another thing that we do pretty well here is we meet people where they're at. So there's nobody out there that we can't help. And so sometimes they'll come and they'll say, I just, sometimes it's a high level referral where it's maybe a coach or HR partner, and they'll say, "Oh, this person is such a high potential, but they're just not speaking up. They're not owning their power. They're not comfortable in their own skin." And when I hear that, I just get excited because what we bring is a tool. It's not the be all end all, but we're able to help somebody at home really retire with a lot of grace and dignity what doesn't work anymore, coach them on color, fit. Fit is huge, Kristen. That's like another thing that we're real sticklers on, fit. And then again, our framework is once we identify, so we have a 5-step framework. The first thing is to get them to know the person and to really look at their pie chart. The pie chart comes up in so many areas of life, but what do they actually do
Hmm.
with their life, and what are their aspirations, quite frankly? Like if somebody says to me, "Oh, I'll work with you when I lose 10 pounds," I'm going to go right back to that pie chart and say, where are you working out? Where are you fitting that goal in? And then when I'm with them, I'm going to say, show me your workout clothes. How do you get organized? But a lot of what we do is organization as well. And you can just see the light bulbs. This is like not rocket science, but the people that we serve are very busy. They're focused in other areas. They know that image is either holding them back or it's something, we also work with people that are just retired and they're like, I want to have, I'm done with the suits. I want to have more fun. So it's always like, what is your vision of your life right now? Is it getting that next job? Is it um, really celebrating your next chapter? I don't even like to use the word retirement anymore because I'm not sure it really exists. But what is your purpose every single day for getting up? And, some people, it might be taking care of grandchildren right now. For others, it might be I've been home with little ones and I'm going back to the corporate world for the first time in a long time. So that's number one that I get clear on. And that's when you ask me what's, going on in their head, it's this overwhelm. It's like, how do I make sense of this? The second thing that I do is all about getting organized, a place for everything, everything in its place. It's if I'm being really honest, most of the work we do, we're getting rid of about 80% of what's in
Wow.
it. I know. I don't usually lead with that on a sales call. I would not be allowed into the home. But the women that work here, they are all just, Energizer bunnies. And we have a vision. We're going to like attach to your vision and we're going to make that happen. And the best thing is when you do remove the clutter, all of a sudden the gems appear. I just worked with somebody, actually. It was a brand new client, and there's nothing better than that newness of the process. And she had booked 3 sessions with me, and I did one. I think I was there for about 5 hours and really went through the closet and left her with 20 outfits. And I said to her, I can take you shopping, but I really don't. And again, looking at her calendar, people don't tie that into the process at all. It always amazes me because my calendar is my vision board. Like, I'm like, I've got it laid out. And she's got 2 graduations coming up, a high school and a college, taking the family on a big trip. And I said, you don't have that much for summer and spring. And she was so relieved, and she wrote me a note and she said, you bought me back time, because I always say to go fast, you need to go slow. And those 5 hours, and of course it's really fun. We make it fun. Even people that say they don't like clothes, love the process because we really do make it fun. And we're very respectful, to decisions, and we're very, tutorial. Like, this is why this jacket doesn't fit. These are the pants to look for. Let's look at the brands of the clothes that are really fitting. And then, if you need a new pair of jeans, that's a good brand to start with. And then once we get things really organized, it's very easy for us to identify the gaps. And that's when that's when the excitement comes in. With this particular client, she needed a really good winter coat. So I just sent her links. She can do that. That it was that simple. If I thought I needed to bring her to the store, I would, but it wasn't necessary. And then the next pieces really are the heart and soul of our philosophy step. The third step of the 5-step process is the 4 good F words, which is fit, fabric, function, flair, in that order, Kristen. And when you asked, what the challenges are, a lot of people want to go they want to go right to the accessorizing, right to the color. And if you don't have fit down, if you don't have that refreshed base wardrobe, and styles, they are changing. People ask me right now, what is the biggest style trend? And it's comfort. It's not a color. It's not bell bottoms. It's not stretch. The barrel jeans are in, and pheasant blouses like what I have on. But that's not part of the conversation yet. It's really what clothing and style fits you best. The fabric is what's your internal and external thermostat. Are you hot? Do you run cold? Do you need some stretch? Then it's functionality. When's the last time you went to a store and a salesperson asked you what you did on a day-to-day basis? Doesn't happen. So are you on public transportation? Are you traveling? Are you just looking to get out the door really fast without second guessing yourself? What's the functionality that you need the wardrobe to serve you? Like, the wardrobe needs to serve you. You don't need to serve the wardrobe. And when you have too much stuff and it's laundry, it's dry cleaning, it's thinking, it's wasteful. And then the fourth is the accessorizing. And we have a very unique approach to accessorizing where we define it as 60% of the wardrobe. It's blouses, because you could have, like, just to give your audience a visual, you could have on a black pantsuit, and you could have it on with a t-shirt and have it look one way. You could have it on with a fancy blouse and high heels and make it look a different way. Color comes into that. So we define it with everything outside the jacket, skirt, jeans. Shoes obviously are an accessory. Jewelry. We have minimalists. We have people that love flair. But when you have that base refreshed with pants that are on trend for you, We have some clients that really 20% of our clients are incredible fashionistas, and that is a blast for me. That is like art. The rest are just want to look nice. They want to show up in a way that's very authentic to them. We're not changing people. That was something you and I talked about before the show today. We're just helping them elevate, feel great. I mean, the reason why people come back to us time and time again, it's really not because of the clothes we found. It's the feeling that they have. It's a peace, it's a calm. And with my clients, I tend to work with pretty busy people. I'll even set up, like I always say in today's world, the world that we're operating in, there is certainly exceptions, but most of us are working from home. A lot of us are on Zoom. If you have 5 Zoom tops, if you have 5 outfits to meet somebody in person, if you have your workout gear in a way that works for you. I have a client that just wasn't meeting her workout goals. I'm like, take a shower, put the yoga pants on, go to bed or roll out of bed. So another woman hits the gym after. Show me your bag. Like, let's repack that bag. What do you need in there? And it gets exciting, Kristen, because people are so busy and overwhelmed. So once we do that huge piece of our coaching, the next 2 steps are the implementation. It's making that list. And I always say, life is so stressful. Let's make clothing fun. So maybe your list is 100 items. That's an exaggeration. But I don't take anyone shopping either online or in a store without that list being whittled to 5 items. Why 5? Because if you get the winter coat that I just mentioned, if you get shoes that are comfortable, that don't hurt your feet, and you can wear them, or even if you want more color, and maybe you are losing weight or trying to be more budget conscious, like a beautiful scarf in a color that you love might be on that list. And, if you need, there's certain things like sometimes it's like foundations, and we've got to make sure foundations are covered because I always say to both my male and female clients, think about a professional contractor. He or she starts with a solid foundation and then we build. So I'm there being the architect. Part of it's architecture, part of it's therapist,
Oh, yeah.
part of it's art teacher. And then that kind of completes our process. So when you add, that was a long answer to your question, but people are sometimes afraid of changing, and nope, we're not going to change unless, it's really fun when you really help somebody evolve. Like I've worked with quite a few television folks in my time, and that wardrobe was very different. It needed to be tight budget. People don't realize the tight budgets people are working on. It need to be a lot of color. Polyester actually shows up great on camera. And then I've had a few of them that have, transitioned into, one is running a really large nonprofit. One is doing corporate communications. So it's been so fun to actually really redo their wardrobe because they've already bought into the notion that how you package yourself is how you show up without uttering a word. So it's very much tied to energy, confidence, being appropriate too. Kristen, you and I were talking beforehand, anything goes. Not quite, not anything goes. But it's a mindset shift. And even the young people that I coach. And by the way, young people are more eager to dress up because they never did it before. We're all like, oh, we get to be in our sweatpants now. But even if you're a leader, showing up, and it doesn't need to be a 3-piece suit today, that would be inappropriate in another way. It would be sending the message of, dinosaur thinking almost. But being modern, sophisticated, it just sets the tone. And that's what we're all about. We're here to make people shine in a very realistic way. So yes, Zoom is part of our lives, but going out and meeting, we are selling ourselves or ideas every single day. And when you can be presenting yourself in a way that is exciting and makes you feel great in your own skin. And, I have some people that love color. Some people, I just feel much more comfortable kind of blending in. But even just doing a couple tweaks on the fit so that you're not fidgeting and you're really present. So much of what we deliver is presence.
I love that. And I just, I love how you're kind of balancing. There are some, as you said, there's a science to it, but there's also personal preference. And it sounds like your approach really combines both. I'm curious on that front, you know, if you talk about dressing well as nonverbal communication, are you thinking about that in terms of, oh, a particular color is sending this kind of a
Mm.
message, a particular fit, or as you said, maybe a three-piece suit sends a certain kind of message. Are there any maybe surprising rules that you find yourself kind of cluing clients into often about here's the message you're actually communicating and you didn't realize it? Anything like that?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. First of all, with color, I learned this from my days in TV. The news directors loved blue. People don't turn blue off. It's very soothing. It looks great on every skin type imaginable.
Yeah.
So that's been
Well,
some.
and finance companies use blue, right? Trust,
Yeah.
reliability is very common.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah.
And it's all the different shades of blue. So that's something that people can really hold on to. So if they're getting a headshot or they're going to be on camera, that's one rule. Um, yeah, like I think you're sending the message when you're sloppy and inappropriate. The three words that we use is they're kind of like a litmus test. Is it appropriate for the business at hand, the day at hand? And that could be personal or professional. Is it setting good boundaries? Are you showing up in a way that is sending, I don't, what's the saying that we use in our trainings? You're sending a subtle, but yet significant message that I don't have a lot of respect for myself. So treat me as you may. Um, so it's appropriateness, boundaries, and respect. And when you show respect for yourself, you instantly convey it to others. Interesting story. Yesterday, Kristen, I was all dressed up. I was out and about. I had some meetings, and I tied errands to the end of my day, and I had to go to the bank. I went to a jeweler somewhere else, and it was amazing how people respond to you when you're dressed up and you have and a lot of it's smile, a lot of it's calm. When you're rushing, you're emitting anxiety and you're not in control. But I had time, walked into the bank, three people said hello to me. It's just such a beautiful way to go through life, even at the jewelry store. And I was laughing because, you know, like most people, there's days that I'm helter-skelter and I'm in my sweatpants, my baseball cap, and I just want to be in and out. But when you have time, that's presence. I wasn't rushed. Even at the bank, they were like, "So sorry that you have to wait." I'm like, "No problem. I've got time. Please take your time." So yeah, when you can get people feeling and focused on how this one tool, how you pull yourself together, how you interact, and it is connected. When you have things that are well fitted, colors that make you happy, you're going to be happier. Shoes that make you smile, by the way. We just did we do a Facebook Live once a month, and we did 5 styles not to bring into the new year. And I think people were like, "Oh, I'm going to get the styles." And they were all like, shoes that don't fit your feet, clothes that don't fit you, ho-hum color palette that doesn't make you feel joyful. It was just these, clothes that are, one of the rules now that is no longer, all the old rules are being thrown out the door, but, being overly formal is a little dated. So how do you take, your same turtleneck and jeans? Maybe you wear a boyfriend jacket. It's a little bit more relaxed, but there's a jacket. When I talk about boundaries, Kristen, there's a lot to layering to put a little distance between you and the world. It's a little bit of a barrier. And there's also just techniques like a well-placed necklace that brings the face up. So when you ask me about, I guess it's really about signaling and messaging, but again, being really authentic to yourself. I am a business person. I'm very proud to live in the town that I work in. One of my stops was at the charity that we support. That was my third stop. And just being able to have the time, be appropriately dressed, feel good about yourself, had a great meeting that morning. So it's just kind of carrying the energy through the day. And for me, even thinking about what I'm wearing to these meetings is part of the fun for me. Going on trips, I've got a trip coming up and I've got my rack out. I've got my things that I'm bringing. It just becomes what we wear. Even if you go through your camera roll, part of what you wear for all of life, is part of the story, part of the journey.
Sure. Sure. Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
And some interesting things to think about too, in terms of, balancing personal preference and what color makes you feel great versus sort of some of those more universal, how am I being perceived?
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
I want to move us into the one big idea section now because, you mentioned COVID-19, obviously like a lot to unpack there, right? In
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of massive shifts of people being home. We all saw the person wearing a suit jacket on top and the sweatpants on the bottom and, that kind of thing. But really, um, one of many areas of our lives that changed. And I know that your business too
Hmm.
had to kind of remake itself in terms of how you communicated, where you found your audience. So can you share a little bit about that journey and how that transition, was impacted by COVID, and then yeah, just we'll kind of get into that a little bit.
You have 3 hours, Kristen.
Yeah, I know, I know. I
You
hope you have a
highlight.
couple extra minutes if you do.
Okay.
If not, let me know.
Okay,
But
'cause it was great. So, yes, on, March 2020, we were 80% in person. At
got it.
that time, another big part of my story was once the book came out and I was getting more confident as a speaker, I was aligned with a executive coaching firm for 7 years, where I was, delivering the executive image part of their, professional presence program. That went away because nobody was getting on planes anymore. So it was a pretty scary time. So one of the things I did was, again, I leaned into what I had going for me. And at that point, we had amazing clients. So one of the first things I did was I do have an executive coaching degree that I really don't promote in the marketplace. Our clients come in through dressing well, and we get amazing people that come in. So I always wanted to put together a group of leaders that I thought would, be really love each other and enjoy. And I knew everybody was stuck at home. So I quickly developed a group coaching program early, like in the summer. And I went out to 15 people. I identified 15 and I said, if I get 8 to say yes, I have something. And I have 10 sign up. And with the promise that we were going to do something really cool in January. And I set a founding member price. I asked them all to pay by September 1, which they did. So that gave me financial runway. I did not have my PPP loan in yet. That was a nightmare to deal with. That is not a strength of mine, but I knew relationships were a strength. And I went because I had the know, like, and trust. These people had been with me a long time. And I also knew the personalities and I knew who would benefit from that type of container. So containers are a big part of our story going forward. And that was a result of the pandemic. I took that money and I joined a higher end online coaching, very new to me, Kristen, very scary. I'd never done anything like this. In this group, we were all getting Instagram ads, Facebook ads fed to us. And this ad just hit me at the right time. And it said, are you a traditional in-person service provider? Learn how to be an online service provider. Also at that time, I didn't have just one, not two, not three, about 10 people had reached out to me and said, do you have an online course for your book? And I said, I will. you know, so but I knew that I didn't know how to do that on my own. So joining this program and it was a full year commitment. So that was also really scary. My husband was right there beside me, joined it, um, started right away turning the book into an online course. Took hours and hours. It was every single Saturday, Sunday, just doing that. And then you were assigned a coach in this program for one-on-one time. And she immediately said, you need to get a Facebook group going. And I was like, what? I was barely on social media because for 7 years I was working my personal work. I was running in marketing and selling. We always did the privates. I had a team of 4 at the time. But my job, my kids were young. I was saving for the college years. You know what that's like. And I had this 7-year contract that was just remarkable that had gone away. So I didn't have a need to be that active on social. And she told me she knew that I had a background in TV. And she looked at a couple of tapes and she said, you've got to do this. So I am a very good student, Kristen. If you tell me to do something, I do it. And I sat. This is my best COVID story of all time. And your viewers can do it today if there's interest. You can now sit in your living room with your camera on your phone and go live to the world. You there's no barrier. For me, I put up barriers because I'm private. I'm like, I've never run my business this way. My topic isn't, is a little scary to some people, but we started a Facebook group. I went live and all of a sudden I saw the eyeballs coming on. And the first time I did it, I think I had 34 people and we didn't honest to goodness. I just put the camera on, and then because of my PR background and my marketing background and my business acumen, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. If I'm going to do this. And she's like, you've got to do it every single week. So I quickly designed Beyond Dressing Well live show on Facebook. It went 7:00. So I knew that it had to be a set time. And it ended up being a blast. I was so stressed, Kristen. It was a half hour. It was live. I know my stuff. Like I can sit here and talk to you. I know it. The scary part was the tech, the not knowing the structure. But once I said, okay, guys, we're doing 7 to 7:30 every Wednesday night, we got the group going really fast because you just attach it to your face. You just invite people that are friends. So the group now is about 2,000, but at the time it was like 500 right away, which was big. And it ended up, we got this huge following, and again, the tech and I have a really great behind the scenes person who I tip my hat to. She never signed up to be an online business manager, and she has been with us every step of the way, learning right beside us. So we were able to do, really nice graphics, inviting people to the show. That was all her magic. And because I was so stressed, and those days were very, very stressful, I could, from 7 to 7:30, I could just be me. There was it was live. There was no retake. There was no overthinking. It was go and share. And then I structured it. So even the show I just explained, we did 5 items not to bring into 2026. Now we do a blog with the same topic. We release that Wednesdays at noon. We still do the live show, except, and this ties into the biggest aha moments. We did it for 3 years. So consistency matters. When I first started doing my newsletter, I sent it out 4 times the old fashioned way. I just had to bring the disc to the printer. It cost so much
Wow.
money. Yeah. And then my husband in the early days would sit here and put the stamps on them. So this was a new way of doing business. So we did it consistency. People were so upset when we stopped doing it, but then I had to monetize it, Kristen, that it was like, okay, 3 years of giving, and it was the joy of my life. It still is. We now do them once a month, and we took all that goodwill. Plus we launched 90 Days to Stellar Style, which was the book in a 3-month program on Zoom with stylists. I only taught the first couple and then gave that to my team to run with because they needed something to do. And so we had all this goodwill built up we did 90 days for 3 years. We did the live show for 3 years. And I was like, we need a program that's the next step for these folks. So we started Dressing Well Insiders. It's a subscription, so it's very affordable. It's $24.99 a month, $249 a year. And you get a style lesson on Zoom with my senior stylist. She does an amazing job. And that's one container. Going back to the mastermind I put together, it evolved into a mastermind. It's still the same 10 people. That's called Thrive. And that is, when you talk about reinvention and evolving as a business owner, as I shared with you, I was able to tap into my nonprofit background. I was able to tap into many pieces of my puzzle, my journalism background. All of a sudden, being in business as long as I have been, my superpower with those folks are my connections. So in that other container, we have 3 group programs now. In the Thrive, which is it's only 10 people because they get a lot of access. They get speakers. Like we have I just have clients that are amazing that will come and speak to that group. So that is still working professionals. And then the second tier is we have a new program we launched last year, same way. So if your listeners are interested in all this, I always launch with a founding member offer because you want to get people in at a lower price point that are going to tweak it and make it perfect. So we started that with 10 founding members, the Lifestyle Collective. We just rolled it out in this year for more members. And that is, you're getting style and you're getting wellness because we're very aligned with what our client journey is. And the people that have been with us for 20 years, they want more wellness. They want more learning how to deal with our crazy world, anxiety. We did a vision board already. We have a OBGYN coming in to talk about menopause. We have a feng shui consultant coming in to just get your house feeling better. So the Lifestyle, get it? Lifestyle Collective is our new, I think it's going to be our crown jewel because it's just so exciting. And then, of course, we have Insiders, which is more affordable. Anybody can join. So anybody out there listening, it's just really fun. It gives you, and again, going back to our philosophy is everyday style made easy is really our founding tagline. It gives you that calendar, that once a month calendar appointment with yourself so that you're like Sarah gets up and does a whole show and tell you might say, I'm going to get those UGG boots and be set for the season. Or, wow, somebody's planning their son's wedding. Wow, the planning process. Sarah's doing live coaching on those calls and everybody's getting ideas. And then there's so much genius that the people in there are phenomenal. So they're like sharing links in the group. We have a Facebook group. So that's the evolution. And that's what COVID did for me. COVID, I can say it now, and I couldn't say it when it was happening. COVID allowed me to elevate this brand in a way that I could never have dreamed was possible.
Yeah, I love, and I think that really is, kind of the promise of digital, right? Is that just the ability to reach so many more people, and certainly through the group programs, but you think about something like a Facebook Live. What I really appreciate about what you shared and is that you worked though, you talked about building up goodwill, doing Facebook Lives for 3 years. It's not so much the time frame or that 3 years is the magic number, but what I hear is that you still put in the time and effort to build the relationships, to build that know, like, trust factor that we talked about versus going to sort of digital means or trying like growth hacks or like going to those quick solutions. And I think that's where, we're seeing, I think, a return to form, something, you've
Correct.
sort of been doing all along, where folks are going now relationships, relationships, relationships. It's both and, right? But it is maybe that the order in which you do those things matters, and that it is a noisy, crowded digital space right now. That doesn't mean we all aren't out there following people, reading newsletters, like we all have our favorites, but you've got to do something. And I think it is that relationship building piece, that being authentically yourself and taking the time to kind of earn the ask. And then you can use digital tools and modalities to really leverage what comes next.
Correct.
So I really, that's like coming through so strongly for me in your philosophy about being able to kind of marry those two things, which is just fantastic.
Thank you.
I love that. So I want to jump over now to our lightning round. This is called The Last Word. So every guest on the show gets the same 5 questions. Go with your gut on these, right?
Okay.
First answer, probably the best answer. So here we go. Question 1. What's your favorite word to say out loud?
Thanks.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Question 2. What's a word you know from reading, but maybe you're not so sure about how to say it out loud because you don't know how to pronounce it?
You got me on this one. It used to be osteopenia. I would see
Okay.
that word and I'd be, now I have to know how to say it because I have to talk to my doctor about it. But I used to just like see that word and its cousin. We won't even say that. We won't even say its cousin's name, osteoporosis. I used to see those words and not know how to say them. And I now am dialoguing using those words, because I have to with my clients and have to for myself with my doctor. But when that question came up, I just laughed because that definitely was a word that I just glazed over for so long.
Yeah. Just kind of, either avoid it or just kind of trail off.
I can't say that, so I'm not going to say it.
What's one phrase or saying you wish could be retired for good?
Like, I think, right? Yeah.
What's a communication practice or principle that's non-negotiable for you?
I go back and read my emails and take the word I out whenever I can.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one. What's the last thing you read, heard, or watched that's really stuck with you?
I just finished reading The Art Thief, and it's a wow. It's a true
It's a
story.
wow?
It's
Oh, great.
and it's quick to read. It was referred to me, not usually the type of book I read, but it's based on a true story of the world's biggest art thief in Europe. And it happened in modern times. It happened in the last 10 years. So it was a wow.
Yeah, amazing. I wonder if we'll be getting the book about the recent theft in the Louvre with the ladder.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime
Yeah. Yeah.
sometime soon. It's probably
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. So it was really, really good. And I like to kind of follow up on that thought. I spend so much time, like, I can appreciate your thoughts about following people and taking so much time to really, it's no joke running an online business. I mean, even the tech stacks are changing and evolving, and we have meetings on what are we firing from the tech stack this month so that we can make room for something else. In my free time, I really like to unwind and read. I read a lot. And I'm a Netflix person. I don't watch fashion shows. I am like a Law and Order junkie.
Okay.
I need a break from all of it that's coming at me all day. And The Art Thief was just something that I would have never picked up. Hadn't a friend had recommended it. So I do think all of our whole conversation, you hit it on the head, Kristen. It's all about connections and relationships. And I have, even in my private life and my personal life, I kind of have my people. I have my go-tos, and I certainly have them in business. But I think from what I'm seeing, people are craving community. And when you can create it, like a book club. Personally, I have a book club. Some of these programs, it's just such a joy to be able to turn off some of the noise and gather with like-minded folks that are kind of on the same path. And I feel like I feel that way about you, actually. You've got a great program here. I've really enjoyed watching you. And it's just been a pleasure to chat with you.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. This has been a fascinating conversation. I, was honestly a little nervous getting dressed this morning, but I have some good insight to take with me into the future. So before we wrap, I really appreciate you joining today. And if our listeners and viewers want to learn more about you, where are the best places for them to find you?
Best place is the website, dressingwell.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, Mary Lou Andre Style, Mary Lou Andre Style. And then our Facebook group is a great place to hang out if you want to go for a little bit deeper dive, and that is Beyond Dressing Well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today.
Okay, thanks, Kristen.
That's it for this episode of Expertly Said. We're produced by Every Little Word, a boutique content and communications agency. If you liked what you heard, you know what to do. Subscribe, share the episode with a colleague, or leave us a review. If you want to connect with me directly, please do. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search Kristen Sweeney. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.